How's it going? So I'm Steve Wiideman. As we mentioned, I've been in search about 25 years. It's been a really interesting journey going from being a Army infantry soldier playing with laptops to now running a small consultancy in LA and teaching at any given moment up to 185 students. So yeah, it's been fun. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking a little bit about SEO today and how we can apply it to what we do in our courses. If you have an SEO course, just kind of give me a gauge. How many people here teach SEO? Okay, cool. So yeah, I think you're gonna love some of the content here. So we're gonna see how we can actually apply some of the new technologies in SEO and some of the best practices that I've learned as being an adjunct and getting us successful, getting through a class successfully. So as I mentioned, 1995 is when I started in IT. I moved, my first corporate job was with IBM Global Services. That was pretty fun. Went back to school and got a degree in e-business management. I didn't even think that was a thing, but apparently it existed. And I picked up a job at a small entertainment company called Disney, where I was the SEM account manager for Disneyland.com and Adventures by Disney. I'll talk about that more here in a minute. Left the corporate world behind around 2010 to be a better dad and a father, be home with my kids and be able to work from home. A few agencies had heard about me from all the different ebooks and information and videos I was putting out, and they had me train and incubate their teams in little offices near my home. So eventually I just stayed at those offices, incorporated as Wiideman Consulting Group, and now I run a team of 10. Clients that we actively work with, where the students get to actually see some case studies, include Applebee's and IHOP and Outback Steakhouse, Public Storage, Dave's Hot Chicken, Belkin, Linksys, Skechers. These are all accounts that we've worked with over the last decade or so. And again, we're sort of the wizard behind the curtain for a lot of agencies, so we're often called the agency's agency. One really kind of fun story, you can see this gaudy website with the bevel and embossed buttons. 2005 or so, I didn't get the job I really wanted at Disney. What I wanted to do was SEO, and the job that I got hired for was production coordinator. So my job was to help, using Microsoft Project, make sure resources were allocated for 6 different Disney properties, as well as 20 different operational things, right? No small responsibility at all, right? But I kept emailing this guy and annoying him every day. Terry, I really want to get into SEO. I've written ebooks on this topic. I rank for all these different keywords. And he goes, well, show me some of them. He's like, yeah, there's not a lot of search volume for that. Show me you can rank for SEO expert, and then we'll talk. Right? And so I went out, I created this silly web page in 2005, 2006. I did all the SEO best practices. I got my college to link to the page, my alumni. And I showed him, like, ta-da, I'm on page 1 of Google. And Terry goes, yeah, but you're not number 1. I'm like, oh my God. So I go back, I start a meetup group. I get over 700 people. It was standing room only, where I was just lecturing basically for an hour with all the people wanting to learn about what I had been doing in my career. And so it was really fun. It was meant to be a meetup group where we get to hang out and share ideas, but it was always me just with slideshows and presentations. And but when I did that, I said, how many people right now, where do you see me on the first page of Google? And they would search, and I'd say, who clicked on my result? And they would say, a few of them would say, I did. Great, thank you. You helped signal to the search engine that I was a helpful result. If you stayed, close your browser now, don't click another web page. And so I did that for a few weeks as a way to sort of influence search appearance and search activity. And within a short period of time, I got that number 1 spot. And I'm like, Terry, ta-da, I'm number 1. And so it was great because I got the job I wanted. Disneyland Commerce and Marketing, right? Tickets, packages, reservations on one side, and Nemo Ride on the other. But the bad part about being number 1 for SEO expert, as neat as it was for the 12 years that I held it, was that I got blacklisted from the community for looking like a braggart. Wherever I published content, I was always SEO expert, Steve Wiideman SEO expert. My brand became semantic to that keyword. So part of what helped me to rank was publishing all that content and using my name with those search terms. Eventually, when I talked to a peer who said, this is the reason you're not getting invited to all these search events, I dropped the website completely. And now I get to hang out with some of the coolest people in the industry. Jim Christian at the DMO in Napa Valley every year. The G50 in Austria, where I got to wear that funny T-shirt and lederhosen, which I don't know if you've seen that on the website. So kind of a neat story about my career is for 12 years, I was ranked number 1 for SEO expert as a way to get my job at Disney. Eventually culminated into where I am today. Kind of fun. So why are we here? You saw this in the description of the session. I get asked a lot, why do you teach? You've got this great successful agency, you're doing really well, you seem happy, why are you spending all this time? Because I see a lot of snake oil in our industry. I see every day I'm getting phone calls, you want to be number 1 in Google? And unfortunately, these companies are doing really nasty things sometimes that hurt and penalize the websites from search. So my hope was that if I start teaching, I can empower the next generation of digital marketers by teaching courses that instill transparency and ethics and white hat ways or white hat best practices that came from my years in corporate. So that's what we're going to go through today. Our goals, our objectives, hey class, right? Our learning objectives is to really explore generative AI and how we can apply it in our courses and empower students to use it, but use it the right way. We're also going to be taking a look at how we can use practical application of search versus theory, especially in SEO, because SEO can get really nerdy, and I think it's great when you can teach by practice. And then I'm going to share some tips of what I've learned and how I'm able to streamline all the things I have going on. I think somebody once told me I should be optimizing for time management expert, not SEO expert, just because again I've got 10 team members. I've got 35% of the top 10 restaurant chains to help consult for. I've got 3 schools, 10 courses, and up to 185 students. So imagine that. Oh, and I write books. So yeah, so hopefully it helps. So we have to address the elephant in the room, right? Generative AI, it's coming. This exists right now. If you have the Google Labs, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you sign up for Google Labs. You can actually see what Google looks like now. You can't teach a course on SEO and not have this be part of it. We have to talk about how we rank in search results with generative AI in the search. Super important for us to do that. And unfortunately, a lot of students are using it in the wrong ways. And you probably learned a lot about that yesterday in some of the other sessions. They're learning how to create prompts to submit assignments without any sort of learning. And one of the unfortunate drawbacks of AI is that it's adding to the amount of things that are automated for students. Autonomous driving is coming up. We've got AI giving us all the answers to things. There's no critical thinking involved to enable students to really try to understand and learn a topic in a way that they can explain it to an employer, and foster real learning. So we'll talk about that here more in a second. You could even go to Bard, and Bard will give you prompts on kinds of ways that you can create content that can pass AI detection. Bless you. It's funny when I think about it. I don't know if you remember this. A few months back, students were actually selling prompts to each other. They were doing more with prompts than they were with buying Starbucks coffees, because they were just trying to figure out how can I get through all these classes and not have to do any thinking. And it's unfortunate and sad. So we've got some ways that we can help encourage and maybe even overload them with positive ways to use the tool, and discourage them from using it in the wrong way. Here's an example, like what's coming as we start thinking about how we start applying it. Let's start thinking about ways that we can use it in positive ways. My favorite is this prompt. I have all the students do this now, is ask ChatGPT, ask Bard for specific questions, whatever your course is, and that's be SEO, and say, what are some questions I should ask my teacher to get the most out of this class? It's a fun way, and then they want to know if you know the answer. That's the best part, is that, hey, I asked Bard, and here's some questions that they had for you. Like, all right, lay it on me. What do you got? Discouraging using plagiarism and using this as a copy paste from ChatGPT. One of the things that I do, and you'll see this in the tips slide, is I send 3 emails to the students during the first week of the course. And those emails are about using AI to submit assignments. I'm like, I want you using the technology. I want you playing with it. But I'm going to know, and here are the tools that I'm going to use that you can test your own things with. And I had one student say, I was actually really in a hurry, and I used ChatGPT for an essay. And then I went to Originality, and I used that tool, and I kept using it over and over and over until I got a score. And I found out if I would have just written the thing myself, I would have saved myself the time of trying to rewrite it to pass the score. And so I convey that in some of the emails. But the funny part in the email, it says, by the way, P.S., this was written by ChatGPT, right, in the actual email thread. So that not only do they know that you're familiar with the technology, but they know you're using it. So they don't think, oh, this is some 50-year-old person who's not up to speed like us young people. Yeah, guess what? We're using it. And then, as we start really thinking about ways as educators that we can start using it, we can ask these chat programs how they rank websites. It's the first question I asked Bard when I got access. Hey, Bard, how do you rank content differently than Google Web Results, pre-2023? And Bard was happy to share all the different things about the algorithm, because apparently the engineers didn't think that we'd be asking those kind of questions, but they're available. We also have to start thinking about what's coming in the next few years. Everybody's seen the new Apple device, right? The $3,500 headset, the AR, right? We're starting to untether ourselves from our phones. In 10 years, we're going to look back and laugh at ourselves walking around holding cell phones. It's going to be really funny. But the way that search is evolving, it's sort of like Joaquin Phoenix here in the movie Her. Have you guys seen this? In this movie, he basically has a virtual assistant, an operating system that is basically his assistant. He falls in love with this assistant, but he's walking around and he's actually talking to her, and he's asking to search, hey, find me a restaurant. What time do I have such and such? Where can I find X? He's not behind a computer or a mobile device using Google. He's asking his assistant. And that's what Google and pretty soon Apple and their Spotlight search and other technology platforms are doing, is they're enabling us to start detaching ourselves from our phones. So conversational search and the way that we write content now is going to be really important. And really, really, really nerdy things like this, we look at innovations and all the things that developers are creating. If we follow the blogs and the platforms where all this AI is being discussed, this is a fun little SEO tool that somebody shared. It was ChatGPT for Sheets. It was an extension for Google Workspace. And basically, you install this extension, you go to a search result. I think personal injury lawyer was the one I used for this example. I copy and pasted the 10 pages that appear in the search results into column 1, and then just with a couple little prompts, I was able to extract all of the entities of the pages that rank number in the first page of Google. And then it takes all of that and it summarizes it, and then it lowercases it, so now you can have all the topics you need to help optimize a page to rank in search. This used to take a week to do manually, or at least an entire day if you were just fully dedicated to it. Now we can do it in 30 seconds. That's how we can use new innovation with AI to accelerate how quickly we can get the data we need to help rank our pages in search. Pretty nerdy, right? But where do we start with all this, right? It's kind of a scary new world. We're not even scratching the surface of where it's going to be as these large language models get smarter and smarter and smarter. As I mentioned earlier, the first thing is just let the students know early exactly what you plan to do when they submit an essay. Let them know you're going to be using these tools. Video has been a fantastic way to replace the essays. When you have write an essay about as an assignment, don't do that now. Switch it to do a short video after using or utilizing ChatGPT or another technology to come up with ideas. Do a short video to explain it in your own words. So that way they're still kind of learning from that, and they're going to be using these technologies anyway. But when they do the video, it's more authentic, and it's a learning technique, just like reading or listening or doing. Teaching is a learning technique. So it's a great way for you to sort of change that whole submit an essay to video. And I know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get, well, I'm uncomfortable being on video, and you're like, good. I'm glad you're uncomfortable being on video, because your competitors are also uncomfortable being on video, and they're gonna ferment and die in digital marketing while you progress and accelerate what you're doing. And for goodness sakes, we're digital marketers, not librarians. We got to use video. It's super important. And then, of course, suggesting ideas on ways that you can harness SEI in class. And use it as part of your class assignments. By the way, these images are all AI-generated images using Midjourney. I pulled these yesterday just for fun. So, kind of neat. So here's some prompts that we can use, the students can use. God, see, my fonts are so small now, I got to put on my BCGs. You guys ever heard of BCGs? That's what my wife calls them, birth control glasses. All right, hey, there we go. Look at that. So you can have prompts that say, hey, ChatGPT, give me examples of successful SEO campaigns. Hey, ChatGPT, explain to me how Bing and other search engines rank results now with chat integrated. Hey, ChatGPT, I have to write an essay about link building. Can you give me some topic ideas or even a topic outline to make it easier? These are ways that we can encourage students to really start getting into it. And then as educators, here's some really neat things that I've been testing. I'll actually reach out to ChatGPT and Bard and say, give me assignment ideas, hands-on assignment ideas for an SEO class where they're learning link building. And it'll give you some really interesting ideas. Same thing for using AI in assignments, like the detecting AI, just like the originality AI we looked at a minute ago. And then, of course, there's even course outline and syllabus inspiration. I thought I'd nailed everything in my SEO class, but I said, write me a syllabus for an SEO course, and it had some topics that I hadn't even thought about. I was really excited to see that and see how I can incorporate them into my course. Some neat ideas. God, AI is getting so good at even creating images. It's scary. 1, 2, 3. What is going on with this finger, though? That's so weird. So here's our key takeaways from this segment of our talk. I think taking the time to explore the technology, maybe even getting in some groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, Slack groups, right? Talk to folks that are in AI channels, see what's going on, pick up blog feeds. I use a tool called Feedly, and every day I get up, get my coffee, and I see all the topics from the blogs that I follow in one little view. Anything that looks interesting, I'll click on and learn about. Takes me 5 minutes. Sometimes I'll go down the rabbit hole and it'll be a 20-minute. But I think it's really important to do that every day. Just get in the habit of what's new, what's being talked about, so I'm up to date with it. I think teaching ethics and plagiarism is still important to do and to keep that top of mind. So that's one of our key takeaways. And not being afraid of the technology. I know it feels new, and it's going to get newer and more weird as we go along. And you're going to find students doing some things that you wouldn't even imagine. These kids are really sharp, and it's exciting to see what they're doing, but also a little bit scary. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how I took my 25 slides with 250 bullets and turned it into a course that was roll up your sleeves and hands dirty. Really fun. This is actually scary too, because that's also AI. They're both AI images, but she looks so real. So real. Anyway, so SEO theory. Imagine you start your class. You're like, okay, class, I've got 25 slides, 250 bullets, and you're going to learn the definitions and how things work around core web vitals and search engine algorithms and largest contentful paint and HTTPS everywhere. Is everybody ready? And all they hear is like the Peanuts cartoon, like wah, 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 wah. And they're like, what did I get myself into? But if you start your class, you're like, hey, what we're going to do over the next 6 weeks is we're going to build an SEO strategy for a client. From beginning to end, you're going to learn all the different disciplines of search as we do it, including tech, content, outreach, link building. We're going to establish some KPIs. We're going to do all of that. Oh, and we're going to create a really small website and optimize the page to rank within the website so you can see, or within Google, so you can see how your page shows up in search results. Now it's application. Now they're actually doing it, and they're learning while they're doing it. And I'll show you an example. One of them is doing an SEO strategy. So I'll take our template. And this is the Wiideman template that we use for these large brands, which is exciting for the students because you're giving them the exact same one that you're using with large enterprise accounts to take into the corporate world with them. I ask them to make it their own, too. They get extra points if they take the logo out and they change everything and add their own. You get some really fun templates, and some of them better than mine. It's really neat to see what they do with it. So here's a technical, like week 1, sometimes into week 2. These are some of the attributes that would go into it. You'll have all these slides. And I don't know if you saw the first slide, but there was a bit.ly link, right? I think it was ProfCon SEO 2023. I pre-recorded this, so if there's anything you missed and you want to listen to it again, I have my rehearsal video so you can see everything and hear me rattle off all these things again. So make sure you grab that. The second thing I'll do in the technical SEO is I'll get into very, very basic HTML. Not too many tags, but I have a video, and they watch me do the video, on the video, and then they write all these different tags. And as they're writing them, they're learning about the SEO component of those tags, from title tags and meta descriptions and headings, and all the things that are really kind of core. And the objectives with that, of course, is for them to feel comfortable looking at source code and not afraid of it. It's 2, to be able to look at specific SEO focal points. And 3, it's to troubleshoot why a page might not be ranking and not feel scared about it. This has been really fun to see how students learn some really basic tags. The next one here. Next report is a competitive analysis. You'd be surprised how many SEOs never create a baseline report for their clients. There's nothing worse, and there's no worse feeling, I think, than being a year into an account and saying, look at all the traffic I've driven to the website from Google. Look how exciting this is. And this competitor seems like they're like number 11 now. And the client says, that's really good, but where were we when we started? Like, oh, I forgot to record it. So having a side-by-side of us versus the competitors across all these different SEO focal points is a way for students to explore different criteria, but also it enables them to understand strengths and weaknesses, also gets them to have observations that they can draw inferences from to create actions that go into our SEO plan. So having a competitive analysis is a great report. And you can have all these templates too. Just hit me up after the session and I'll make sure I send you the links to them. You'll see a lot of the criteria as well in SEO and Strategy and Skills. If you've already been in there, you've probably seen these already. The link building component. Links are still important. You just saw Bard say links are important. So one of the things that we're doing in this one is teaching ethics and link building. It's so tempting to just go buy links or do guest blog posts or purchase links from a private blog network. So we're trying to teach white hat SEO and link building practices that work. When we start with quick wins, such as broken links that are coming in. With Applebee's, we had 5,000 links pointing to 15 broken URLs. All we had to do is create one evergreen URL and redirect those 15 links to that one, and we recovered 5,000 links overnight. And we saw an immediate lift in ranking across the Applebee's website. One of the examples the students get to hear about. And then unlinked mentions, another easy one. Hey, you're mentioning our brand, that's fantastic. Would you mind making our name clickable so people can learn more about us? So we teach them ways to get some really good links. And then long-term link earning. What are the tools and templates and calculators and reference guides and studies that we can publish that people would want to link to? So coming up with a link building, link earning campaign. One of the toughest parts of SEO, as you probably know, is keyword research. And I see a lot of different ways, in fact, millions of different ways that people do keyword research. And one of the ways that we've been trying to teach SEO as we're going through it is starting by having them understand the intent of keywords. So we look at user intent, we look at brand versus non-brand. We definitely want to make sure our brands are ranking for branded terms, but we also want to augment that with non-brand. This is an example, by the way, of an attorney, personal injury attorney, just like from that example we looked at earlier. He wanted to rank #1 for truck accident lawyer, which costs about $800 a click in PPC because they're $2 to $5 million cases for them. And so we said, great, give us a year, and it's going to take probably 100 pages of content from keyword research. Attorneys for, and you've got all the different types of attorneys, coal trucks and delivery trucks, 18-wheelers, tractor trailers, cement trucks, logging trucks. And then we've got the reasons that cause the accidents. This all supportive pages underneath a silo that culminated into this site map eventually. And by the end of the year, he ranked #1 for truck accident lawyer and closed $40 million in cases. That was pretty neat. What was more neat was when he called me and said, hey, I just want to let you know this quarter we closed 40 million in cases, and I'm sending you and your wife wherever you want to go. And so I said, well, we've never been to Cancun, that'd be fun. So he sent us first class to Cancun. But I told my wife that he was so happy he's sending us out to his house to hang out with him for a week, but bring a swimsuit because he's got a pool there. We get to the airport and we're getting our tickets, and she's like, oh no, they screwed up our tickets. It says we're going to Cancun. I'm like, we are. And she's like, I'm going to kill you because I packed one swimsuit. And so I said, don't worry, I planned first day for us to just go shopping, and I got redeemed. So, yeah. But yeah, it was fun. But yeah, ranking #1 for a keyword, using keyword research and building taxonomy is a really difficult thing to teach. Single page optimization. No matter what you do at a site-wide side for SEO, it's not going to help get that single page of content to rank. So the example I like to use when we're talking through this particular template is Applebee's. Applebee's was getting conquested in paid search by Olive Garden. So I said, give me a page, right? And so they gave me a page to work with. I use this exact template and I give them the exact output that I gave to Applebee's. And if you do a search for pasta and breadsticks, you'll actually see Applebee's usually right above Olive Garden in organic web results. So with this one, the objectives for them is to use all that keyword research, look at all the SEO focal points one by one, row by row, and then make it client ready. That's what these two columns are for. Get the client to approve it so that you're not just assuming, and then verify that they did it. And unfortunately, most of the time, Applebee's only uses about 50% of our recommendations. A lot of the structured markup and image suggestions that we have just aren't taken into account. I think a lot of it has to do with resourcing issues. This is fun. So again, after they've created a strategy and they've built this little micro WordPress website, at the end of the term, they get to do a search for their name and the course number, which isn't hard to rank for, and you can do it in 6 weeks if it's a short course, and they can see their little website show up in the search results. It's always fun to do that because now they're practicing what they're learning, and they're seeing the end results of doing optimization. The last part of doing the report is around KPIs. I've never seen this in any of the agencies that we've worked with or done training for. I've never seen them actually build out a KPI tracker with specific goal, progress, and progress percentage columns. I do remember sitting in a meeting with John Burke and their local SEO vendor, and John Burke saying, what were our KPIs in working with you? And they're like, increased traffic and revenue. Right, by how much? And they're like, I'm not really sure. Well, can you at least tell me where we are from a percentage standpoint on hitting our KPI goals? And they were just like deer in the headlights. And I'm like, John, let me show you what we've been doing. And working with Shefali and some of the other folks there, we'd actually put together a tracking mechanism. This was Google Sheets, now we're using Looker Studio. But it goes through all the different elements, from links that have been earned, technical SEO focal points, share of voice for keyword segments that we're tracking, as well as revenue and organic traffic, which we know are important. And I said, John, we're actually 30% toward hitting our goal, and we're on pace for hitting it this year. He's like, great, that's all I needed to hear. So meeting over, he walked up and got out, and the local SEO vendor was like, thanks, Wiideman. It's like, you guys need to get your acts together. But apparently nobody does this. So this is a really neat thing that sets students ahead. When they walk into their new job, they say, by the way, I've got a tracking mechanism that my professor and I worked on. I don't know if you've got something like this, but I'd love to make sure that I have a baseline of where we are and do some forecasting to make sure that you see a positive ROI on bringing me in. And then the client, the employer is like, that's phenomenal. I've never seen or heard of that before. That kind of fun thing. This is at bit.ly/KPI-tracker. And I mentioned that on the recording too, so you don't need to write down. So our finished product, when they're done with the course, is that full comprehensive SEO strategy, touching on tech, content, links. We talk about user experience, as well as those KPIs. Now they've got something that's prioritized and actionable that can go right into their strategy. And it's professional, and it looks fantastic on the resume. So when interviewer, employer is looking at what you've done, and they see, wow, you've built a full SEO strategy, touched on all these SEO disciplines, and you've built and optimized the website to rank, that's exactly what we need for this entry-level position. It's a shoe-in. Third and last segment. How are we doing on time? I got 2 minutes left. Let's wrap it up. So these are some tips that I've learned, some best practices that have really helped me. Especially when you're managing a lot of online courses, it's hard to keep track of habits that help to see success in your courses. So this is what I created. I used a Google Sheet originally, and then eventually just Google Calendar. But Monday mornings, I get up, I record a little video and send it out to the class. Here's what to expect for the week. I also look at those that are struggling. I look at those strugglers who haven't submitted assignments, and I say, how can I help? That way every week I'm reaching out and trying to do something. So setting up something like this can really help. Exercises that are hands-on. There's a bunch here. You can also use ChatGPT and Bard to ask for ideas, but getting that weekly assignment, I set the expectation every week, just for simplicity, that we're going to have one assignment, we're going to have one discussion group, you're going to watch 1 to 2 lectures, and there's going to be a quiz. And keep it simple, and I just do that and keep it streamlined across all my courses. That final check-in email, if you send it Saturday night when things are due Sunday, you'll get probably as much as 20% of the people who wouldn't have submitted on time that get that reminder and go, oh yeah, I gotta do it. Schedule it. Use Outlook, schedule the email, and it just goes out Saturday night and reminds them, don't forget your things in. Due dates. This is one of the things that's helped me get really good feedback on Rate My Professors, not being a stickler on due dates, because this topic's very complex. It's weird. We're talking about students that have to be introverted extroverts and extroverted introverts. So it's a lot of different personalities that come into it, so I want them to really learn the material and not feel hung up on due dates. And I always use the rubric. The rubric's a great way to say, this is exactly what I'm going to be grading your assignment on, and remind them to use it. It makes my job in SpeedGrader easy. And at the end of the day, if you want to get some positive feedback, these are things that I've done. I've given a library of videos I recorded just for them. I give them all these amazing templates. All they have to do in exchange is reply back that they left me feedback somewhere. It's a trust system, and it's worked. This is what I've gotten back over the last couple of years of teaching by mentioning that I'll give them a letter of recommendation, some library of content, as well as templates. So yeah, I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm definitely getting better. So key takeaways: generative AI and large language models. Let's start incorporating them into our courses and encouraging, empowering students to use them. Let's start trying to do exercises instead of doing just theory. And let's try and test different ideas to get feedback that we want from our students and make sure that we're doing a good job for them. This is my favorite meme, by the way. I use this in all of my classes at least once, because this really describes, when you're talking about search algorithms, what they feel like when they get through one of my lectures. They're just like, I'm done. So I'm Steve Wiideman. There's my contact info. That's my cell. You can email me. I'm here for you as you're doing your SEO course. If you want feedback, if you want suggestions, I'm here to help. Thank you for listening and hanging out.